behind me.
All right, well, good morning or good afternoon, everybody, depending on where you're at. We're happy that you're with us today. Today is a very different panel discussion that we do. Emily Anderson and I, who run FranNet here in Oregon and Idaho, or kind of throughout the Pacific Northwest, a lot of times when we do workshops, we will have some clients of ours that have been in business come and talk to the group that we are speaking to. And usually that group are people who are considering going into business or franchise ownership and are thinking about doing it, but actually haven't started the process yet. But after they listen to Emily and I, they kind of stop Emily and I and say, hey, yeah, it's nice to hear from you guys. I'm going to talk to the Johns and the Joshes of the world who have actually done it, who have actually been through the FranNet process, who have done the research on franchises, who have obviously pulled the trigger on a business to see what it's actually like directly from the horse's mouth. So that's what this panel is all about. We are recording this session so people can listen to it because we know a number of you who have registered want to listen to it here over the next week or two. And so we're just going to be asking questions of John and Josh. And if anybody else wants to step in and ask questions of John and Josh, this is kind of Brady Bunch style. So feel free to ask whatever questions you want. But we'll just kind of get started with doing a brief introduction of John and Josh. John, we'll start with you. Can you kind of share with everybody kind of who you are, where you're at, and the type of business that you are in?
Well, I'm in Boise, Idaho. And the type of business I'm in is mobile pet grooming. We come to people's homes to groom their dogs and cats. And we have state-of-the-art grooming salons in the back of Mercedes-Benz Sprinter vans. So we have 5 of those vans and 11 employees. And we groom, well, it's been highly successful. I came from the world of corporate HR my last 20 years. And then prior to that, I was in retail management. And needing more details at this time, maybe, Blair?
No, we're good. No, good introduction.
Yeah.
Josh, how about yourself?
Find the cursor there. You think I do this for like 6 hours a day, but anyways, my name is Josh Eaton. My background is in technology, and so I've worked in software as a service for nearly 20 years. Software as a service is essentially any software that kind of occurs month over month. Generally kind of consumer-based technologies, though, in my experience. But I've worked in all different types of roles, but many focused around the customer journey or the customer experience. My wife, who's my business partner, she has worked in digital marketing for essentially her entire career. And we started this process, nearly 7 months ago, I think, 6 or 7 months ago. And in tech, the name of the game is change and acquisition, consolidation. And, I've just been through enough of those for a lifetime. And we had started talking about doing something for ourselves. And so my wife has left her job just recently and is going to be the operating partner of the business. And the business that we selected is an eco-friendly junk removal service. And it's called the Junk Loggers. And the Junk Loggers' mission is to keep the big goal is to keep 100% of reusable items out of the landfill. And so this business was really, we feel like it was really dialed in for us just because there was a green component that we wanted to find. We're really eco-conscious here in the Pacific Northwest and wanted to find a business that fit that need. And also something that we saw that we could really execute high service. And one thing that excited us about junk removal is the bar's pretty low, I think, probably. And there was just a lot of opportunity for us to come in and disrupt a pretty low kind of customer experience expectation and really do something unique here. And so is that good for me?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Josh. Thank you both to you and John for the introductions. Like I said, we'll keep this to about 30 minutes. It's kind of Brady Bunch style. So if you want to take yourself off of mute and ask away, we'll make sure your questions get answered. So like I said, this panel is not about Emily and I. We're just kind of here to basically make sure we end in about 30 minutes, and that's about it. But we'll ask questions as well. So like I said, if you have questions, take yourself off of mute and we'll ask away, and we'll have Josh and John answer them. Jeff, I know you had a couple questions you wanted to have asked.
Yes, no, and I've got to say, I smiled and was very pleased when John told me what he did, because that even opened up more questions that I might want to ask. So real quick, John, just so full disclosure, I've bought 2 territories with Pet Supplies Plus, and I'm opening 2 stores in Utah. And so when you say mobile groomers, groomers is near and dear to my heart now, or it soon will be. And so this is a question I wasn't planning on asking, but maybe a little specific, and that is, how have you successfully found your groomers? What avenues have you went through, and what do you look for in a successful groomer?
That's a great question. It probably applies to any small business today and large businesses because of the lack of people wanting to work, I guess. There's not a labor shortage, just that the jobs and the people haven't matched up. I have no problem finding groomers because I don't look for groomers per se. Dog grooming, pet grooming in general is a skill. And mobile pet grooming requires a couple other skills. The customer interface. My 3,000, 4,000 clients do not know what I look like. They might hear me on the phone and that's about it, but they know the groomer and their dogs know the groomer. So I hire for qualities different than the skill of pet grooming. I look for, well, number one, they have to love dogs and tolerate cats. Or own cats, and I look for a background that is in customer service. I have at least 3 former baristas on my staff. I think 2 of them are from Starbucks. And a couple more from food service. People that have experienced complaints and compliments. And I look for people that are motivated by the tip world. We get 15% or more of their income is from tips. And they do very, very well financially. Their wages are very good. But we teach them how to groom dogs and cats. We teach that skill. We teach it in-house. We teach it behind the wheel, so to speak, with our trainers that we have on staff, and then we're there to help them throughout. So finding those people, to answer your question directly, I get most of my leads from Indeed,
Okay.
but probably balanced out by referrals from my staff for other people. We look for happy, balanced people. If they've had some college education or experience, I should say college experience, we love that. That's just a gift. We hired a lady that got a master's in, not a master's, she got an undergraduate degree last December in business finance and wanted to take a year off before she pursued her MBA, because professors like to have you continue in college. She just wanted to take a break. We taught her how to groom pets. She'll probably make $60,000 working 3 days a week for us.
Mhm.
So and she loves it. She loves it. Jeff, my other franchisees, I was just on a Zoom call with about 9 of them yesterday, and there's about 75 of them in my franchisors network. They struggle to find pet groomers. So it is a very real problem.
Oh, I'm sure. Like you said, that's across the industry and across a lot of positions. I think that's out there right now. I was glad to hear you mention Indeed. That's one that I've heard is a successful, is a good place to utilize. A follow-up question for either of you, and that's I don't know if you've used any third party to help with payroll, HR, other things, or if you do that all in-house, something like Paychecks or other companies that are out there. Do you do your own in-house? Do you outsource some of those accounting / HR roles to Paychecks, for example, or another 1-800 accountants, or et cetera? Just curious how you handle the kind of behind the scenes, that side of the management of the business.
I'll just go really quick because we're not even really there yet. We're going to use ADP. Our franchisor has a relationship with ADP.
Okay, yeah, another great.
Yeah.
I don't know why my mind went blank on them, but thank you.
Gentlemen, I have a question for you. Knowing that you worked with Blair, I am assuming that you looked at were introduced to multiple options. Is that safe to say?
Yes.
Can you address what are some of the pros and cons of looking at multiple options as you're in this research process?
Josh is nodding his head. Go ahead, Josh.
Well, I'll be pretty quick, John. I think it was good for us to go through the exercise of looking at businesses that wouldn't fit, because it was clear when we found one that did. Blair told us something really early on that I still think about all the time, like constantly. I had to be able to picture ourselves in the business. And there were other businesses that we came along where we thought we could do this. This is something that we could replicate. It's a simple process, but we just struggled to see our bodies doing that thing and wearing the shirt or whatever. And so that part stuck with me. So I think it was just as good to find the right one as it was to find the wrong ones for me. So I'm curious to hear from John too.
Yes, we went through the assessment process and then through Blair's consulting and Emily. And when given choices, we have to match those up with our aptitudes and our interests. And I think we made the right choice, especially looking backwards at what happened with COVID in March of 2020. Our business was doing very well, and then it became almost unmanageable because of demand for in-home services or at-home services, so to speak. That's just plain luck. But if I'd gone into a retail establishment that required face-to-face work with hands, like a hair salon, that would have been tough in the early parts of 2020. So anyway, matching up the assessments were very valuable from FranNet.
Can both of you share, now that you've both been through the process, and obviously, John, you've owned your business for a handful of years now. Can both of you share what part of the FranNet research process was the most valuable to you?
For us, I think it was probably those assessments. I mean, for both my wife and I think it's interesting because I feel like we both knew more about each other than even maybe about ourselves. And so it was an interesting area to see where she was strong and I was weak, and vice versa. So I think that part we really spent some time on that and right up front and really tried to do that the right way. Yeah, that was such a huge process for us, Blair, because I don't think I think we were really going in a different direction initially until we went through that exercise. I think it sobered us up pretty quick and maybe pointed us in the right direction. I feel like we knew we were going to head in a service direction in some capacity, but the assessment really helped us understand each other's strengths and weaknesses and how we could play off that to find the best business that fit us both.
I reference one slide out of the deck that Blair and Emily used 6 years ago. And it was a chart on the left side and on the right side of the difference between going into business on your own cold versus a franchise, and the pros and cons. And that might have been the title on the slide. And it showed that the learning curve on the left could be steep and full of potholes. And with a franchise, it's not paint by numbers, but it's pretty darn close. And you know exactly what you're getting into, and you pretty well are able to estimate your cost and expenses the first 2 years of business. But I thought that one slide was valuable.
Gotcha. So part of the process that we feel is the most important is talking to the existing franchisees, people like yourselves who are running the business in the particular businesses or franchises that you're researching. One of the questions that we are always asked of our clients who are just starting the process is, hey, are those franchisees really willing to speak to us? And will they answer our questions honestly? And hey, are they willing to chat about anything that we want to talk to them about, whether it be operations, training, financing, what have you? Josh, can you chat about that?
It's in regards to the other folks that I've talked to along the way.
Yes.
Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable, to be honest with you. I was nervous, I think, the first few times I reached out, and that was really kind of a foolish position to take. Back to what John said, that slide, it's interesting because I recall a similar version of the slide. And part of the franchise journey that's been really good for us is the sense of community. There are other people alongside us who have either already done what we're about to do, or who are right behind us. They will be doing what we're going to do. And so there is this kind of there's tribal knowledge, and generally everybody we've talked to has been more than happy to share. I would say that, you know, we haven't even opened yet, and I have relationships with many franchisees that I would consider almost friends. Some of our local or people in the state of Oregon, I have them in my phone, their number saved, and we're texting, and you know, it's that part has been really interesting. I had no idea how open and friendly and helpful our peers in the program were going to be to us.
My apologies, I had an interruption. That's the way businesses go.
Do you want me to repeat the question, John?
Yes.
When you were doing your research a handful of years ago, as you remember, part of our process is we really want you to talk to existing franchisees within the systems that you're researching. Our clients always ask us, hey, are those franchisees really open and chatting with somebody who's trying to, you know, research the business and answer any type of question? So how open did you find those franchisees to be?
Overall, very generous, very helpful. You have to ask the right questions. And I started most of my dialogues through email. Some of them want to work over the telephone. I think I reached out to 18 or 20 franchises. So I got quite a spectrum. I also focused on how many vans they had, you know, what the volume of the business was, how many years they've been in the business. And it gave me a better sense of what I was getting into. So my eyes were wide open, but they were very generous. Yes.
Gotcha. John, probably one of the questions you're asked all the time is, now that you've done it and you're at the opposite end of the spectrum of, hey, it's worked very well and now I'm selling my business. And most people don't know from the outside of franchise that no, a franchise is very sellable. But having looked back through all the years, what would you have done differently?
Okay, now when you ask that question, are you talking about at the moment of choosing to purchase a franchise?
A good
Or
question.
once I own it?
Well, maybe once you've been in it.
Oh, the learning curve. when you say do something different, I don't know how to answer that. There's
Hey, Blair, can I ask a similar, because I had a similar question, I think what you're asking, and this would be interesting for me, John, is I know that the franchise works with you quite a bit. Are there things that, you know, you didn't know, you weren't prepared for? Are there?
oh, well, that I can answer. Yes. It's a mobile business, so the franchise depends on groomer availability, meaning you have the people with skills that are ready to work. And van availability, Sprinter vans, Mercedes-Benz Sprinter vans. I don't know if any of you on this call have scheduled a lube oil filter change at your dealership. They're booked out, 6 to 8 weeks, as is my franchise. But the managing a fleet of vehicles was something I didn't anticipate, Jeff. Good question.
And Josh, you'll probably have the same in your business once it ramps up.
Yeah, same. Right now, I think the thing I didn't anticipate was the supply chain issues related to also trucks. And so we are having to make some adjustments to our strategy because we will be waiting a bit longer than we anticipated to get our trucks. So that was something it's been a bit of a curveball for us. But another way the franchisor has worked with us is they've provided some credits or some other stipends to make renting something in the meantime a bit more affordable. And so that, it's been another opportunity, I think, to illustrate to us that we probably made a good choice with our franchisor. They've been really willing to step in and help out when we've encountered some roadblocks.
Gotcha. Can both of you share, because it's a question that comes up quite a bit, if you financed your business, how did you finance your business? And I know, Josh, you're right in the middle of yours. So, and by the way, talk about the good, the indifferent, and the ugly as well.
Well, since you said me, I'll do, I am professionally talking about it right now. My wife and I selected to use an SBA. On paper, it's a pretty straightforward process, but in practice, it's a really long process. So I would encourage anybody that is, I don't think I would say don't go through an SBA process, but I would just say be really, Blair has said along the way the whole time, be prepared. It's a long process. It's a very long process. There's good and bad to everything. So, the fact that the process has been long has forced us to get a bit more intimately acquainted with the details of the business and the business plan and our strategic plan and how we're going to execute on that. The SBA process is just very long. It's just a lot of checks and balances. There's kind of 3 phases. We're right in the end though now. I'm very excited to say that we're essentially just waiting to close when it makes the best sense for us. So I've kind of got everything in my hand, ready to go. But yeah, the SBA process is quite long.
And I took the route of withdrawing or transferring money from my 401k over to the C corporation. So it was an easy money transfer. And there is a acronym for that that Sarah and Emily know. What is that acronym?
ROBS.
Thank you. So that was very, what do you call that? Easy.
Okay, good. Emily, do you have questions that you'd like to ask the panel?
Well, the favorite question is, if you could do it all over again, would you?
Oh, well, that'd be for me, I guess. That's an interesting question. I mean, when you chose your life mate, would you do it all over again? When you chose your school, would you do it all over again? When you chose the state you want to live in? I mean, there's a lot of different paths at junctures in your life. I chose this one. I enjoy it. the choice of franchisor turned out to be exceptional. The support we get from the franchisor is just beyond expectations. And apparently I have some entrepreneur spirit in my DNA. So it was a good choice. Yes.
Josh, is it too soon for you to answer that?
We don't have any regrets. I mean, if anything, I guess I would have perhaps anticipated some of these supply chain issues ahead of time. Maybe but you know, there are things that are inside and outside of our control, and this is definitely one of those ones that's outside of our control. Maybe I just would have factored that a bit more into the decision, although I don't think it would have changed our decision at this point. So no, I don't think so.
Thanks.
Gotcha. Very good. Jeff, any last minute questions that you would like to ask the panel?
Sorry, no, I'm set. This has been very helpful and very good. Thank you.
Good, good. Well, Emily and I promised to keep it to 30 minutes. We're just about at 30 minutes. So I want to thank John and Josh for your time. For those that you'll be listening to this a little bit later on the recording, I hope you enjoy it. If you have further questions that you wanted to ask and want us to forward them on to John or Josh or anybody else, we'd be more than happy to do so. Emily, any last minute thoughts?
No, just thank you, gentlemen, and best of luck to you on your next chapters.
Yes, absolutely. And we have lots of examples of the John and Joshes of the world. So more than happy to get you in contact with them. So Emily and I have been doing this I've been doing it for almost 25 years. Emily has been doing it for a number of years. So it's always great to see your clients succeed, be happy in the businesses they're at, because that's what this is all about. And as people know, it's not the easiest process in the world, but if it's done and done well, it can work out really, really well. So great to see you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for everybody who listens to this, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank
Yeah.
you, guys.
Bye.
Appreciate it.